book bitch, proving that having outlined eyebrows is better than having no eyebrows. And I'm here to talk to you today about My Blood Approves by Amanda Hocking. Now, this was probably, I think it was the third book or fourth book I read by her, like, overall, because I started out with the Trill trilogy, originally, and that one's alright. It's, I think, her second series that she's published, so it's not terrible, but it is pretty bad. But not quite as bad as My Blood Approves. Sorry, I'm trying to get the best camera angle, and I don't really want to do more than one take, so fuck that. I don't care. Anyway, so, I reread My Blood Approves because I was kind of bored, and I just kind of needed an ebook to read because I didn't bring a book with me somewhere. So I thought, why the fuck not? I'll reread this because I enjoyed it pretty well the first time. I enjoyed it pretty well the first time I attempted to reread it, but I didn't finish rereading it because at that point I was still working on trying to amass a decent collection of shitty indie books. That stupid fucking Vampire from Hell book. To try to, you know, actually make this a decent channel. So I didn't quite make it through there because I was starting this channel. So now I've reread it because I figured, why the fuck not? She was the, you know, she's the self-publishing queen or whatever right now. She's the current, like, media favorite. Well, she's not really the current media favorite anymore. I mean, she was kind of the media favorite a few months ago. But anyway, she's self-publishing's darling. Let's talk about Amanda Hocking. So, Amanda Hocking and I share the same home state. We both are from Minnesota, but she's from the southern part, whereas I'm from central Minnesota. Southern Minnesota is different. Like, northern Minnesota is mostly mines, southern Minnesota is mostly empty. It seems like there's a lot of industrial stuff and a lot of farms, but there's not that many farms, but there's, like, more farms down there than there are in the rest of the state. And it's, I don't know, that's where she's from. She's from Austin, Minnesota, which is where she still lives, and she writes books for a living because, for some reason, being able to put words to, or convert words to pixels, and be all like, type, and, you know, have terrible grammar, for some reason that means bestseller. No. That's a topic for another time, but oh my god, we need to stop that. We need to stop giving everybody who can just suddenly write, oh my god, look, they wrote the perfect vampire. So cool. We need to stop that. We need to stop giving them all bestsellers and, like, publishing contracts and shit. But I digress, because this is about My Blood Approves. Anyway, My Blood Approves follows main character Alice as she, well, it starts out, her and her friend Jane are in the middle of a, her and her friend. I'm so great at grammaring when I'm talking. When I'm typing, it's a whole different story, but I digress. Anyway, Jane and Alice are, like, trying to get into a club, and they can't because their fake IDs suck. So they just decide to walk home in Minneapolis after dark in probably one of the least good places to try to walk around on your own or with a friend if you're a female. It's probably not that great if you're male, but you're probably a little less likely to get fucked with if you're a male in that part of Minneapolis. Sad but true. Anyway, they decide to walk home and they get followed by people, and zoom, all of a sudden Edward Cullen comes out. I mean, all of a sudden Jack Townsend comes out, and he's all like, grrr, and they're like, ah! And, like, Alice is all like, oh my god, he just saved me, and falls asleep in his car, and Jane's all like, oh my god, he's so pretty, oh my god. And then promptly Jane leaves the book. Like, she's in it for, like, one more scene, and then she's gone until about midway through the book. She's mentioned again, gone until the end of the book, and she's got, like, I think 3 more lines, and then the book's end. And it's like, okay, Jane seems like she would be a hell of a lot more interesting than our main character, Alice. Alice has a younger brother named Milo. That's another thing I have issue with Hocking, but I'll save that for later, because this is going to be a long fucking video. Anyway. So, Alice ends up, like, being dropped off last, and Jack, for whatever fucking reason, was like, yay, let's go to a concert a few days later, because somehow, you know, magically he's got her text, or, like, her phone number, and that's not creepy at all, you know? Not creepy at fucking all. Just older guy. Like, by the way, I'm pretty sure Alice is supposed to be 16 or 17 in this, and Jack, when we first meet him, is 24. Not counting the fact that he's a, spoiler alert, he's a vampire. So he's actually like 40, because he was like turned when he was 24, but that was like in 1994. And this, you know, math to whenever the hell this shit was published, but yeah. And this little fucking 16, 17-year-old is like, oh, he's so dreamy. And I'm just sitting here reading it going, no. Nope. 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 Can we please stop fetishizing this whole older vampire teenager shit? Please? I mean, yes, I admit, I'm guilty of it in my latest book that I'm actually working on writing. But for the love of fuck, it's really getting old to have every goddamn teenager in these goddamn books go, oh, he's so cute! And then find out that he's, like, ancient in comparison to her, and still be like, he's so dreamy! It's like, no. No. Honey, no. And anyway, we don't find out that they're vampires until about halfway through the damn book. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's almost exactly halfway through the damn book that suddenly Jack just turns to her and he's like, we're vampires! And she's like, oh my god, there was, like, no way I would ever have guessed that, because, you know, you're not superhumanly strong and you don't heal yourself really quick, and blah-da-da-blah-da-da-blah, and your skin doesn't have a temperature. I just thought you were different because you're awesome. No. Like, seriously, I think it was probably, like, honestly, as far as vampires went, and I hate to say it, because we all know how I feel about Stephenie Meyer, but I think Stephenie Meyer handled the whole keeping the vampire thing secret-y a hell of a lot better than Amanda Hocking did with this. I mean, I understand that we're the audience, we're the reader, we're not held to the same, oh, well, blah-da-da-blah, I guess he's totally got, like, an excuse for that as the characters. But for the love of fuck! I know it's a fucking vampire book, but for the love of fuck, seriously, if we're gonna go from the person's goddamn perspective, if we're gonna use first person's perspective, we need to either, you know, deal with the clues in a way that doesn't immediately go, oh, well, that's it, he's a vampire, for the audience. Because if the audience can fucking tell it that easy, then goddamn it, the fucking character should be able to tell it that easy. Not rocket science. If the fucking character is seeing all this and going, that's weird, the character should be making A and B fucking connect. It's not that difficult to write shit like that. You know, if you're gonna give clues, then have the character actually figure shit out without having it literally fucking shouted at her. Because that's what it is, I swear to God. In the fucking book, he's like, we're vampires! And she's like, what? After he's been attacked by a dog, saving her, he crashed his Jeep and, like, latched onto her and was like, let me love you, I will save you! And that's when she finds out. And I'm sorry if I just spoiled the book for anyone, but I don't really care. So, yeah, anyway, the rest of the book, we find out that, you know, there's Jack's got a brother who actually was the guy that turned him or whatever. And fucking his name's Peter, and for whatever fucking reason, Alice just goes fucking apeshit, like, oh, Peter, he's so, oh my god, Peter. Like, every time he's fucking around, I was like, you know, it's like she's fucking high or something on Peter, and it's just, Anyway, so the rest of the book is spent pretty much her being angsty, Peter being angsty, Jack being angsty, angst. All of the fucking angst. And there's other characters in this thing. There's a guy named Ezra, there's a girl named May, there's Jane, there's Milo, there's just fucking characters. There's Alice and Milo's mom, who I don't think is ever given a fucking name. Great job, Amanda. Anyway, I gotta cut some slack because it is the first book she published. But at the same time, I'm the book bitch. When have you ever known me to show any mercy? So anyway, there's the basic plot stuff. Alice and Jane are out clubbing. Jane texts Alice a bunch of times, then disappears for most of the book. Jack and Alice go to a concert. Jack and Alice start being all datey. Jack introduces Alice to his family. That's when they meet Peter, and Alice is just like, oh, Peter. And he's all like, no, because he's all angsty and deep and dark and eh. And there are actually people who want, whatever, Peter and Alice to actually finally end up together. Again, spoiler alert, they don't. I've read most of the rest of the series. But, yeah. And people are, like, rabid about that. But you can... It's written in such a way that that is fucking predictable from the moment we start. I'm sorry, guys. I intended to actually make this a decent review because I do enjoy this book. But there's so much wrong with it, and I haven't even gotten to how it's written. I'm focusing on the story so far, and we're already more than 10 minutes into this video. And, sorry, I'm uncomfortable. I've been sitting here a while, and I've already had to accidentally fucking start a second video because I accidentally clicked. So, anyway, yeah. So, it's, I think, 23 chapters, might be 24 chapters long. The formatting on this ebook is kind of shitty, but again, I can't really judge that because the formatting on a lot of my earlier stories and whatever was kind of shitty. And, the chapters just kind of start in the middle of pages, and there's a lot of classic Hockings, which, if you don't remember the Book Dictionary video that I did last year, I think? I'm not entirely sure. But the Book Dictionary defines a classic Hocking as a sentence that is written with a word missing, or a whole phrase missing. Yet, you can still make sense of it because you know what word or phrase is missing. But there's a lot of those. And then there's a lot of your versus your issues. Mostly, you are being used where it's your bike should be used. Yeah, there's, I think, 5 of those in the last, something like 6 chapters. I just finished reading this, by the way. I actually just, finished reading it, wiped off my old eyebrows, did a preview video for Tumblr, which you can actually go ahead and over to my Tumblr if you know my Tumblr address, and check that out. Or, whatever. And then I came out to my van, set up, and here I am, talking to you now. So that's, I finished reading it probably a half hour ago now, but yeah. And, towards the end, it's like, I know Amanda hired an editor before I got to this book. Because I think I've got, the 3rd edition of this book. So, I know she hired an editor, because she talked about it on her blog. I know she hired an editor, but it's like the fucking editor had an aneurysm halfway through the book and didn't finish. I know she had friends edit the book. Did those friends also have an aneurysm halfway through the book and not finish? Because, the grammar and everything, it flows so nice up until about chapter 16, and then for some reason, it's just fucking errors and typos abound. It's like, god damn, girl, seriously. And this is coming from a person who generally doesn't use an editor, because I can't, A, I can't afford it, and B, a lot of my work is just too personal for me to use any of my friends on. But, yeah. It astounds me that someone could waste so much money on an editor and still have so many issues. I mean, there's an instance where the word phase is used incorrectly. She used it as though I'm not phased, even though she meant, like, let's move to the next phase. She used F-A-Z-E instead of P-H-A-S-E. She meant to use P-H-A-S-E. I hope. Because that was not the right phase. At all. But, again, I have to digress. The other thing I really, really, really take issue with in a lot of Amanda's work, because, God love her, she actually, she's a decent writer, and the more I read of her stuff, the more I agree with, that idea and, that statement, that she is a decent writer. But the fact remains that she misspells words, she uses the wrong forms of words, or the wrong words. Like, she uses the wrong homophone or homonym. I can't even remember what the hell that actual word is right now. I'm sorry. I'll probably put it down in the doobly-doo, whichever the fuck one I meant. But, seriously. I take so much issue with, if you can't spell decently and you can't go through 5 sentences without making classic Hocking, and you can't, use the proper form of a word, you probably should have an editor, and you probably should make sure that they're reading the entire thing, and, they're maybe even letting, like, one of their kids read it, so that, if they missed something, maybe their kid is gonna hit it, Because I'm sure editors make mistakes, but come the fuck on, people. The end, and... Anyway. My other real big pet peeve with Amanda Hocking is she uses a lot of the same... Like, she does the same thing that Gloria Tesh does. And stay tuned, we're gonna have an episode about Gloria Tesh. And there's probably going to be, like, 6 or 7 vlogs about Gloria Tesh. But she does the same fucking thing Gloria Tesh does, where, she has normal names, and then she has these random weird-ass names that nobody has had in, like, 50 fucking years. And she uses these names that, people didn't use back then, and it's like, what the fuck? Because there's Alice. I, honest to God, have not met an Alice in my entire life. I'm pretty sure most of this generation and the generation right behind my generation, most of them are probably never going to meet an Alice, because Alice is kind of an archaic name. People don't really use it anymore. And you know what? Prove me wrong. If you know an Alice, or you are an Alice, go ahead and comment. Tell me I'm wrong, call me a bitch, call me a whatever, I don't care. But, and then Milo? First off, isn't Milo a girl's name? And second off, really? I mean, at least Ezra and May, spelled M-A-E, kind of work for the time period they came from, I guess, sort of. I mean, Ezra probably not so much, because he's like 300 years old, but whatever, I digress. And then there's Peter, which is still actually used, and Jack. Who the fuck is named Jack? And it's just, there's so many, like, names that, and then there's Jane, like, really? There's all these names that are, like, never used, and then there's Jane. Jane is one of the most, like, common-sounding names ever. I know it's not a very common name anymore, but I'm trying to be the devil's advocate here and actually act like Amanda intended for there to actually be anybody in this story with a normal name. And I have no problem with authors using unusual names, not normal names. But for the love of fuck, your entire book shouldn't be non-normal names unless you're actually, like, writing a fantasy book. 'Cause, I mean, shit, who the fuck is gonna find a Danielle in the middle of, like, Hobbiton? But for the love of all things holy, if you're writing an urban, like, paranormal romance thing, at least try to have 1 or 2 people have normal-ish names. Throw in a Samantha, or a Sarah, or a Tom, William, Robert. Not just names that have not been used in ages or, you know, are not common at all. It's like she went to babyname.com and just picked the most unusual names possible. And yeah. It kind of follows for a lot of her books that she does this. Because, I mean, Hollowland, there's Remy and Harlow and Blue. I mean, I actually know a guy named Blue. It's like, it's literally his middle name is Blue. But, you know, I think there was one person in that entire book that had a normal name, and I can't even remember what the hell it was. I mean, what kind of name is Harlow? And then she named the cult leader Koresh in that one. I digress. This book is not about that book. But, oh my god. I'm sorry if this review is hard to follow or annoying because I keep saying, oh my god, and I digress, and this is not about that. I don't care. Because this is my review. So you can kind of suck it. But, anyway. Overall, Amanda Hocking's My Blood Approves is not that terrible of a book. You gotta kind of read it with your indie book goggles on, and you really gotta kind of, if you don't like grammar mistakes, or, you know, you don't like issues with spelling and whatever, this book's probably not for you. Then again, most indie books probably aren't for you. But, you know, if you're the kind of person who can enjoy things just for the fact that they are, then, you know, you'd probably do pretty well with this. It's not that terrible. The story's okay, but then again, there's this whole issue that Amanda Hocking seems to have that I'm actually going to talk about in this next video, because I'm going to do another video here in, like, 5 minutes, actually. And it's going to be kind of awesome. But, there's this whole issue that Amanda Hocking has, where she seems afraid to damage her characters. And that, it doesn't make for a very interesting story. In fact, that's kind of why I stopped reading the My Blood Approves series in the first place. I got through, I think, this, up to the third book. Middle of the third book. But, yeah. Anyway. So, yeah. That's Amanda Hocking's My Blood Approves. And overall, I'd probably would read it again. Not for many months. Maybe not even for another year. But, you know, it was an okay book. It was an okay read. I'm glad I spent the 99 cents on it. The rest of the books in the series, not so much, because they're $3 a piece. But, whatever. You know, they're books. And a book is a book. But, yeah, anyway, I'm your book bitch. This video has gone on way too long. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.